May 28th, 2019, Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. The Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club's Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. I'm going to start the net here in about a minute. I got my logbook ready to go. Excuse me. This is KD2IN Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. This net is offered to the Amateur Radio Club each Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club. It is also live streamed on the Pharmacy Seeds Network YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch it later if you like. That said, this net is dedicated to farmers and gardeners and discussion related to farming, gardening, and health, and good food and good practices. Alright, if there are any check-ins, please call now. No check-ins yet. Somebody's in. Geeky Gardens, what's going on? No check-ins as of yet.
Here's K2BHN.
Here we
Checking
go.
in.
Yeah, the net recognizes K2BHN. Jim, how are you tonight?
Good. I'm in the middle of composing an email to one of the town executives about an issue, so I'm kind of betwixt and between.
Oh, I totally understand how that is. Well, no worries, no worries. We'll do another try here in a minute. Yeah. Anything new and exciting going on in your world?
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on. There's a property that went up for taxes on our street here, and apparently somebody came in and took it over or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. He's stripping the property, taking all the trees down, and throwing them in the lake and clogging the dam.
That's an interesting technique.
Yeah, so I'm kind of composing an email to the town supervisor who I know and filling him in because other people are coming back and complaining about it, and I want to let him know what's going on so he doesn't get blindsided and let him know what the potential source is.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I can't imagine cutting all the trees down and throwing them in the lake. That just seems like a weird choice of actions.
Yeah, and one of our neighbors who is a retired New York City transit cop went over and pointed out the fact to him that you can't do that. And he got very aggressive, threw him off the property, and threatened violence.
One of those kind of people. Okay.
Yeah, so the town supervisor, I know him on a personal level from other associations, and I kind of wanted to fill him in and let him know what he's getting into before the shit hits the fan.
Fair enough. Well, let's just see if there's any other check-ins here. This is KD2IN Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now.
KD2IN. This is KD2RFI.
The net recognizes KD2RFI. Bob, how are you tonight?
Doing very well. I got no trees in my lake, so that's a definite plus.
Hey man, if you have no trees in your lake, you're making out good, I guess.
Yeah, not that good. I got no lake either. Anyway, just a quick comment. Kind of listening to that whole conversation going. I would definitely follow up with DEC. I guarantee you, he's definitely violating some sort of DEC law. So that might be a good old line to throw into the town supervisor as well. DEC's been notified or forwarded or CC'd or just something to think about.
Yep, I would second that for sure. Yeah, I'll just gonna let you guys go back and forth direct. KD2 and passing between you two.
Yeah, K2BHMF, I got it.
It's all you, buddy.
Yeah, no, this guy has been warned, and he's been very nasty to people. One of the guys who informed him that you can't do that is a retired New York City transit cop, and he was violently thrown off the property, and he responded with a call from the police, and then called NCON in, and so forth and so on. So it's going to escalate. I just figured that since I know the town supervisor on a personal level, I should let him know what
Hey, Sonny Ray,
he's
what's going on?
before the DCs enters the ventilation system, and he's
Hey,
guard.
Mimsy, how you doing? Good to see you in a live stream.
Absolutely. Well, it definitely won't catch him off guard at all, but definitely...
Everything okay down there, Mimsy? We haven't seen much of you lately.
Stuff to come your way, probably in size of a landslide. But, hopefully you'll have no
Another day, another dollar.
Individuals
Or another 50 cents or 10 cents, depending on your inflation rate.
I do recommend that hopefully he tries to throw the ECs off his property as well. That always goes very well. And those type of events, I like to sit back in a lawn chair with a beer and just
Nah, I'm due for a reshave again. No, it's never enough, Sonny Ray, that's true.
Oh yeah, definitely. I want to sit there with the lawn chair and watch him throw my neighbor off the property. He's a retired police officer. He doesn't take any crap from anybody. He'd give you the shirt off his back, and he would support you every which way from Sunday when you're right. But when you're wrong, don't go there.
yeah, copy that.
Hey,
They got
5
you,
cents, yeah.
a
No
lot
kidding,
of
Freedom
people
Farm.
like that,
Freedom Using
more
Farm.
than could help out, but once you cross that line,
Oh, that's why you haven't been ribbing me and slugging me.
you're on fire, if you know what I mean.
Now I understand, Mimsy.
Yeah, and he is perfectly right. I mean, you can't take 16-inch diameter, 8-foot long logs and throw them in a lake and let them just kind of float down the river and clog up the dam down below as part of the Esopus Creek that the Ashokan offloads onto and whatever. That doesn't work.
Sorry guys, this isn't necessarily farming and gardening related.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's plenty of people out there who'd be more than happy to come take those logs off his property, put them in my yard for firewood this winter. I'd be your next winter at this point. I'd be more than happy to assist with that. But, yeah, whatever the rationale behind it, I didn't hear the beginning of the story as far as why he's doing
Let's
it.
not go
But,
backward,
some
please.
people like to think they can do what they want.
Let me get back to the topic.
No repercussions.
Kind of let these guys
They don't care
go.
about legalities, or they don't care, what other
They would
people
just
think.
exchange
They
it,
just
gas it out, and
leave
get
it
back to
alone
farming.
and do their
But
own thing. And
that place 2 Farm doesn't talk about.
I out here on my mobile, that's the only radio I'm using right now. And I gotta say, I just saw my first firefly of the evening, so I think it's very well summer's coming this way. The KD2 RFI.
KD2 and control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. Yeah, I saw my first firefly last night. I was pretty excited to see that. Alright, let's just see if there's any further check-ins, then we'll get back to farming and gardening. This is KD2 and net control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. check-ins. Well, I have a little bit to report back to you, Bob, about my beehives. That right-hand hive that swarmed out last week was running really strong the other day when I checked on them, so that's encouraging to see.
Absolutely.
Okay, good night, Sunny Ray.
They will run strong, and
Hey, getting started on homesteading.
Notice a lull, because you know the cycle from the old queen leaving and the new queen hatching, emerging, and going out on her maiden flight, and then coming back
Right.
and laying eggs.
She's gonna go out and mate.
It's probably going to be about 3 weeks easily.
Okay.
So I'm assuming she was not out of her cell when the old queen left. And swarmed out. So it'll probably be 3 weeks. So it might dip down a little, but don't worry. But soon enough, probably 3-4 weeks, it's going to be kicking right back up again on you in the high gear. So
You too, Sunny Ray.
Fresh new queen, ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. So just to go into a little more detail on swarms, it sounds like they create a queen cell and start rearing a new queen, and then they swarm out usually before the queen hatches. Is that correct?
Well, like all things, yes and no. I've opened up hives and had seen multiple queens in them. And
Multiple
the hive hasn't quite swarmed yet. The hive was packed right tight, and I actually found a queen on the bottom board, and there was a queen up in the frames as well. So one of them was getting ready to depart. Like I said, from studies, I believe it's always the old queen, the existing queen is the one that leaves with the swarm, and the younger queen stays back. Usually, yes, they will depart before the queens exit their queen cells. But if inclement weather, long periods of inclement weather, may deter them from being able to do that, and so they may wind up having to coexist for a short time period.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious, but typically, like typical scenario, they start spawning the new queen and they take off. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I didn't realize that part of the cycle, and I wasn't thinking about that. So this is old genetics still from the previous queen that's operating in the hive right now until the new queen goes out on her maiden flight, mates, comes back and starts laying, right?
Yes, in a nutshell, that's correct. But bring up genetics, there's always going to be a bit of
Thanks, Mimsy.
behind, and just new genetics introduced the next maiden flight. So the new queen actually came from the old queen. So
True.
Right there, you're mixing genetics. So you're always,
Right.
in a sense, maintaining your old queen, genetically speaking.
Right. Well, except for whatever she might cross with when she goes out on her flight and mates, right? So you could be, in the offspring of your queen is a combination of whatever she mated with and her genetics, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you could be inheriting new genetics as well. Reason I ask is because Frederick Dunn does his frequently asked beekeeping questions, and the last one he was talking about that a little bit, and about how he ordered some 3 new colonies from some company, I forget which, but they were all identical genetic base, but they were all acting a little bit differently once he installed them, and then he was talking about gestation period for her to lay new eggs and all that kind of stuff too. So I was just curious for a little more detail and understanding on it. How are your bees getting along?
It has been a crazy week. I think I've counted 6 swarms altogether.
Wow.
When it comes to swarm control, don't tell anybody. I manage my hives very poorly to prevent swarm control. I tend to let them swarm out a lot. It's been really crazy. I have collected 5, now, yeah, I think 5 of the 6 swarms that I've known about have been collected.
Wow.
One of them went way high in a tree, 25, 30 feet. I looked at it, gave it a good wave, said, good luck, guys. And they were only up there 2 hours tops. I came upon them right after the hive swarmed, and they were just settling into the tree. And then about 2 hours, 2.5 hours later, they were gone. So they found a new home real quick. I found several lower hives, lower swarms that have nestled in, and I've been able to collect them, or I had a friend of mine come and collect a couple as well, as he had a tough year with bees. So it's going pretty good in that regards. The one I collected, I actually took a little inspiration from your channel, and I made a short little video I was going to post on YouTube,
Awesome.
but I have not gotten around to doing it. It's a real quick, down and dirty swarm collection. Let me break here a moment. Yeah, so if I get a chance, I will get that footage edited and throw it up there and let
I'll share that link
run it
on here.
So it's pretty good. I think I had my daughter preview the raw footage, and she's like, that's not bad. That's good information. She said, but man, you kind of talk a lot. I said, okay, go figure. Who would have thought I talked a lot? Now, the downside of the week, you thought I was done. The downside of the week is I had a swarm take off on me yesterday. I did not, I knew one of the hives just was not as active as it was the day before. And I walked around yesterday looking, I didn't see nothing. Then, right about 7:30, I'm out walking the dog, and I went a little further out away from the hives than I normally do looking for swarms, and sure enough, there they were, wrapped right around the trunk of a small tree, right in the middle of some heavy brush, and 7:30 at night. I said, I don't have time to even think about starting that tonight.
Let it ride.
So, long story short, I collected them today. It was not pretty. I used a technique which I really don't like, just because it aggravates the bees a little too much, and I had a slight mechanical malfunction, and well, I slaughtered a lot of bees unintentionally. I was just kind of hoping the queen was not one of them. I was using a vacuum method, and my filter on the inside fell off and ended up sucking a lot of bees right on through the impeller there that creates the vacuum. So it was not pretty. Really annoyed over it. But I think it's one collected, and they're in the box, and now it's a wait and see. I'll give them a few days. I have to go in and see if I can find the queen. If I can't find a queen and I don't find eggs, then I'm going to have to see if I can find somebody with a queen to get a queen in there before they start their drone layer.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but sounds like you've had some pretty good success. So I think it's kind of a weight and balance sort of thing. My last couple weeks have had their ups and downs, but I feel like as long as I can keep that column relatively balanced between losses and wins, I'm good.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's all about balance. I did have a good year, so I really can't complain. It just, I think I'm getting really soft in my old age. Years ago, I would have just shrugged it off and, oh, shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, well, whatever, and moved on. But, it just, I guess when you get, a little bit of passion about something, it just aggravates you. And, they don't go
How you plan it.
appropriate or even close to appropriate at all. And it's just, one of those things. But only had that problem twice. Once when I first tried to vacuum bees, I learned all about where I, again, killed a lot of bees the first time I tried.
I wish I had a tractor for
I
tilling.
rebuilt this vacuum with less suction and, had it all tuned out, and then just a mechanical malfunction did me in this time, so be it. But, like I said, last year I went in with 17 hives. I came out with 15 or 14, I believe, and I'm back up to 16 right now. I got one more box that's ready to be filled, and two more I got to assemble, so I might be able to increase them even more. And I got a couple hives I could definitely do some splits off of. So all in all, it's looking really, really good. And I'm giving several swarms to a friend too, so I've been able to help somebody else out as well.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'll come back and fill you in a little more on my progress over here in a minute. I just want to do a quick opportunity for check-ins here. This is KD2 and Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. No further check-ins recognized at this time, and I want to leave Jim out of the rotation, so we'll go back to Jim, K2BHM.
Yeah, okay. K2BHM here. I'm just kind of reading the mail and generating an email. So bee topics, I'm just listening and interested. I'm not
Gotta try 'em.
with it, so
They're hard
carry
to
on,
slice,
and I'll
but they're delicious.
listen and be informed.
All right, Jim, very good. Hope your letter proceeds in a good direction. So after the swarm last week, I was trying to get together frames and get some new boxes together. I had foundation here, but they were full depth foundations. I had a bunch of medium supers that had clean frames that I wanted to just stick foundation in. I tried cutting foundation down, and that didn't work out so well. So I guess you could call that a mechanical malfunction as well. So I did dig out some full deep supers and cleaned up frames, and got two supers cleaned up yesterday and ready to go. I didn't get them on yesterday, but the next couple days when we get a warmer, drier day, I'm going to go ahead and stick those on, and then that should prevent any further swarming and make some space for some honey. So love to hear your thoughts on that.
KD2 RFI. Yeah, absolutely. As long as you're, give them ample room to grow, swarming
Awesome, Mimsy.
shouldn't be an issue.
We'll talk about that more in a little bit. That
Even
foliar
though
spray.
they might have a lot of room above them, sometimes the queen gets honey bound, so to speak. In other words, the bees fill up all the cells around her brood pattern,
Yep.
and she may not travel out of that brood pattern. So it's kind of funny. They got a mind of their own. They really know how they want to work and whatnot. And I saw a post recently on I think it was Catskill Mountain Beekeepers Club, or maybe it was Hudson Valley Bee Supplies. No, I think it was definitely Bee Club. I think it was definitely Bee Club's Facebook page I saw it. But anyway, a woman had put some frames in from another hive which had a little bit of honey in it, and she was a little surprised that the bees were chewing up some of the wax, making holes through her wax, her frames, and removing the honey from it, and she couldn't figure out why. It's, in a nutshell, bees basically design their own interiors. They design their hives so it works for them. So then definitely not wasting any honey that was in the frame. I'm sure they're reallocating it to another area of the hive, or maybe they're just consuming it as food, as a resource. But definitely they always seem to custom build their own homes, and they're very good architects in that sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always kid around about how people like to think of themselves as beekeepers or bee managers. More than anything, we're bee colony interferers and thieves. They definitely do have their own mind about things. Well, anyway, so I tried to make some space to accommodate them, and we'll see what they do. that swarm capture hive, I got to go stick that. I did some distance calculations, and I think I got a spot I can stick that way in the back. It would be out more in the range for capture, and then I'll set up another one. I should be ready for the next swarm if there is one, and so hopefully I'll be in a better place for capturing swarms and hunting production. Yeah.
You know, one thing I've noticed is the smaller the trees you keep close to the your apiary, the lower the swarms are. They tend to not go too very far. I think my furthest swarm was probably 30 feet from, maybe 40 feet from a hive. So if I can keep low trees in that area, it makes the swarm retrieval real easy. You know, if I keep low trees within 30 feet of my apiary, it would really make things easy for me. Because quite often they go the same couple of trees each and every time. I noticed one year I had I think like 4 swarms out of one tree.
That
where
is
I
some good info.
like eye level, and
Just a
a
step
couple
above the
were on
bears,
the same
yeah.
branch.
A little more
I get
finesse.
that video posted. I'm taking multiple swarms out of the one bush where I videoed this one swarm out of, and it was, you know, quite literally the second easiest swarm I've ever collected. And I only say second easiest is because they made me bend over and pick them up. They were that low to the ground. Had to pick them up to get the bucket under them to shake them into it. I've only had one colony where I could just walk up to it, put the bucket under it, shake it, and walk away. The whole swarm collection took me like 5 seconds. It was pretty easy.
KD2 and net control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting about the short trees. I notice several of the times that I've seen swarms, both when I was younger with my mom and this recent swarm that swarmed, clustered to cedar trees, and usually somewhere between 6 and 10 feet off the ground. So that's an interesting thing to note as well. I like that lower trees idea, and that kind of ties in with some other stuff I want to do that's sort of related to permaculture, as well as providing pollen source early season and late season. I don't know if you're familiar with Salix discolored, or pussy willows they're commonly called.
Yeah, affirmative. They normally grow in wetland areas, I believe.
Right. Apparently those, according to Frederick Dunn YouTube channel, those are one of the earliest plants to flower in the northeastern United States. And so he's actually got a row of them planted right around his apiary as sort of a wind barrier protection, and also an early season pollen provider. So I'm thinking something like that set around the apiary would give you both a pollen source and a place for them to swarm to where it would be easy to capture them. And of course, if you had to cut branches off to do a capture, the regrowth on that would be very quick.
Affirmative. That's a good idea. I was one of the other thoughts I had was bamboo. I don't know if it produces a flower or pollen or not, but that would be excellent wind blocker, pretty much, especially from the northern winds in the winter. And you know, again, possibly give them maybe an overly complex area to swarm into. And I say complex as far as the human aspect of us trying to collect them out of it.
Yeah.
That might be a little tougher. I think pussy willows might be the same as far as being hard to collect from, just because of the vast number of small branches.
Could be. Yeah, interesting point. I know Frederick Dunn has a couple of his hives where he basically planted a spruce tree like where the hive was going, and then kind of hollowed the spruce tree out around the hive, so it acts as like a snow protector, a windbreak, a pollen source, a rain shed, the works. He says that works out pretty well. So I'm kind of thinking something along those lines as well. I don't know. I have lots of ideas. I've yet to do a final plan and implement them. let's just pause for a second here and see if there's any further check-ins. This is KD2 and Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. If there are any further check-ins, please call now. No further check-ins recognized this time. I'll put it back to you.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump topics slightly. Just a quick update on my garden. I've actually started to bring in
Mulch.
grass clippings and lay over top the garden area. I've been so busy with everything else. I have not had even a moment to start cleaning out the chicken coop and start bringing over the material out of the chicken coop over, or the compost pile I have out back to start carting that back. I was able to bring, I don't know, it had to be about 12 or 14 logs out of the woods, some standing deadwood. Unfortunately, as you know, most of it's ash. We're losing ash, incredible rate right now, the ash borer beetles. But I have just started to start putting that garden together. I still got to cut some cedar logs, which I plan on. I got a lot of cedar down in the woods that I can take the fallen dead and a couple standing dead, and cut them to log length, clean them up, and put around the barrier of the garden as natural barrier type raised bed, so to speak. Now, I was thinking, as we discussed in the past, I was going to put the cardboard underlayment down to help prevent the grass from growing up through. But then I looked at my compost pile, and the dirt I'll be using out of that, I have an absolute ton of weeds growing out of that. So, I kind of decided I'll stop collecting cardboard and laying it down, because I don't think it's going to prevent the weed growth, because the material I'm putting on top of it is going to be growing weeds just as well. So I may wind up going back to I know you don't do it, but maybe going back to the tilling method, just because of the material I'm putting in. It's not going to be really easy to control the weed growth.
All right, well, there's a real easy solve for that. Put that compost down first and then the cardboard on top of it.
Yeah, but that would be logical.
Well, no, we can't have any of that, can we? Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Or, the other thing is, if you cover it with heavy enough wood chips, that will suppress those weeds. They won't be able to germinate and break through. But that means a really thick layer of wood chips. Yeah, I mean, you can till and you can compensate for tilling, but if you have the option to set it up in advance like this, I would go for a deep, heavy mulch. You'd be amazed at the difference in health and growth and vigor and moisture retention and microbial life that happens when you do that. I do a lot of tilling over here too, but every once in a while I try to put the brakes on the tilling and put a mulch cover in place. So, like, if I take an area and I decide I need to till it to plant it, sometimes you do, I'll till it, I'll plant it, I'll feed it, I'll get as much green crop growing on top of that as I can, and then whatever of that soil isn't covered by leaves, I'll cover the rest of that with mulch. That's really the best thing you can do. That way you're preserving biology and moisture. So stuff to consider as you go through. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's your garden and you have to maintain it. And if you're not into weeding, I don't think many people are, I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, that was definitely a small part of the decision too. I can't say a big part, but it's the time factor involved in weeding. And just, I'm at the moment stretched to the limit, and I'm hoping it's just a spring thing, and things will get better.
Me too.
I don't know if we discussed it last week or not. I had a line on a bunch of chickens. At the time was the number was close to 100 plus about 25 ducks, and I kind of committed to buying any overstock that they couldn't get rid of. There's a local business owner, and I said, you know what, listen, whatever you don't get I'll take. We'll agree on a price, yada yada yada. And he's like, well, they're already 50% off, and he's like, I'll do better than that for you. And so he said, when the time comes, this is what I'll do it for you. And it was an incredible deal. But quite honestly, I didn't want.
That's a good way to do it.
I got enough going on right here, right now. I got 80 birds in my basement and the brooder that are growing. But I'm just trying to help them out. I could do it, but it was just another chore for me to do, another setup to implement and whatnot. I went and saw him today, and he's like, "You'll never believe I sold them all this weekend." I said, "You are my hero." I did not want to take them on, but I would have to help them out, and it would have been pretty cool having ducks around. But yeah, but definitely with raising the animals, and I think next year I'll get a bunch more, probably put another shed up, with another coop, and maybe a duck area as well, and we will continue collecting that mulch and collecting those wood chips and continue adding them to the garden. So, like I think I told you, I'm not going to be planting the garden this year. I'm going to be letting it sit for a year to compost down, and then we'll go from there. This is a KD2 RFI.
Man, this is KD2 and net control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. Yeah, that'll work. And there's other stuff. There's other like liquid amendments you can be putting down now to help get that soil rejuvenated, regardless of what you're doing over top of it, whether you're tilling or mulching or whatever. So we could always talk about that sort of stuff too. I hear you, man. I'm stretched to the limit on directions and things I can handle. I think guys like us tend to put too many irons in the fire, and then we have to be careful that we don't add one more iron, because that'll put us past the tipping point, and then everything just kind of explodes and falls on you.
Well, you know what they say, right? I mean, listen, I was a single father for years, soccer dad, and, PTA dad, and all this stuff. Normally, 10% of the people do 90% of the work. So, if you want something done, who do you ask? You go to the person who has absolutely no time to do it. They're usually the ones that will take it on.
Yeah, because they're the ones take on everything else also. I hear you. Well, I'm relieved about the birds too, because I got thinking about that after we talked, and I was like, man, I don't know if I'm really ready to take on more birds. I don't have time to build another chicken tractor. I got like 50 other things going here trying to put together. I'm like, well, hopefully they'll sell out and we won't have to deal with that. So I'm glad he found a buyer, and that works out for him and you and me.
How did you make out with the truck? You ever resolved that issue yet?
Well, I've resolved that I'm buying a new truck. I'm in the process of trying to get the funding together for that. I did find one. If it's still there when I get the funding together, I think I'll have a decent deal on a decent truck. So waiting to talk to somebody later this week to find out whether all those pieces are going to line up. But one way or another, we'll get it done. I went out in risky mode today and made some errands in my truck, very carefully and slowly.
All right, you're definitely more daring than I am. I think I would have rather jumped out of a plane again.
Well, at a point when things break and you got to get stuff done, you get to a point where it's like, well, either I go get it or I go get it and explode. Either way, it's going to explode. Might as well just go get it.
That's the way I feel like when I jump out of a plane. It doesn't really matter at this point. The plane's gone.
Yeah, I'm not a skydiver kind of guy. If I'm jumping out of a plane, everything else has gone completely wrong. And okay, fine, we got to abandon ship, but this is not what I was hoping for.
Yeah, copy that. I gotta tell you, it's pretty funny. That's a video I probably should post on YouTube. It's an amazing experience. I would definitely do it again. We're planning on
Hello,
my
Homestead
daughters
in
with
Holland.
me, and we all went as a family, me and my two girls. And
Welcome.
the hardest part for me
Thanks for coming in.
wasn't that first step out of the plane. It was, I went after my girls, and it was watching them disappear from the plane.
I'll bet.
And my heart skipped a few beats, and I thought, oh my Lord, what did I just do?
I know,
And then
Dickie,
once I
right?
jumped, I forgot about it. I really didn't care. It was all great. It was a great experience. And, we all rejoiced down to the ground. But it's definitely worth pushing your limits and trying new things. Obviously, in a controlled environment, it's ideal, but it was definitely worth it.
I hear you. I may actually try that someday. I'm a big fan of like that falling sensation. I love that falling sensation. I just don't like sudden stops. The one that really intrigues me are those flying suits. I think that would be a lot of fun. But man, talk about a super dangerous sport. But man, I look at those guys cruising down, 10 feet off of a mountaintop. And it just looks like so much fun.
It's funny you mentioned the sensation of falling. I had absolutely no sensation of falling whatsoever. It was just like the wind blowing in your face. It was pretty neat. I guess once you fall long enough, it's not like jumping off a bridge into a water hole as a kid where you get that sudden acceleration. I really didn't feel that.
That makes sense.
It just felt like the wind in your face, and you knew you were falling, but the ground was slowly getting bigger. But it was amazing. Those flying suits, they are phenomenal. They look really cool. I would love to try that. But yes, definitely extremely dangerous. Takes a lot of skill to do it. And I think I actually looked into it. We had one of the guys in a flying suit on the plane with us. He never jumped off until well after we jumped off. I think the plane flew out a mile or so, or a couple miles, and then let him go, and he kind of, glided back in. So I never got to see him actually, go. But it's definitely, that would be excellent thing to do. But I think it takes about 100 plus jumps before they even let you put the suit on and start learning about it.
Yeah, I would imagine, and I just don't have the time and money to invest in it, and especially the rush excitement versus the risk of loss is great. I mean, if I break an arm or a leg, I'm out for a whole farming season. That's no good. So I think I'll stay on the ground, but it does look like a lot of fun, and I always, I watch the hawks and the eagles and the other birds soaring around here, and just think, man, you're so lucky to be able to just go up in the sky and cruise around. Maybe I'll come back as a bird. Anyway, it sounds like a lot of fun, and I can totally relate to watching your daughters jump out below you and going, what am I doing?
Yeah, but we got it was actually a funny story. We each wanted up getting a video of it. I really didn't have the money for that. I scraped together money that I could spare and said, all right, girls, let's go skydiving. And
Thank you.
my one daughter was really into it. My other daughter was not so much into it.
I'll check it out after my
She's
stream
like,
too,
but
Homestead
she
in
looked at it and
Holland.
goes, yeah, I'll try it. So I was like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. Let me break. This is KD2 RFI. So anyway, my oldest daughter wasn't too much into it. She's not a real daring person, so to speak. And I'm watching all these videos and reading all the language and contracts and the disclaimers and the waivers and everything else we got to sign. And
Not at this point, Homestead in Holland. We were talking about bees and swarming
with
bees.
the harness on.
And then
It's all right, no
soils,
big deal.
soil
She'll
health.
get back out. She'll probably do it as soon as she gets to the airport or whatever. And we get there watching other people jump and watching everything go on. They call us over and they run the whole spiel on us about death, dying, dismemberment, eating out of tube the rest of your life, yada, yada, yada. And she puts the suit on. So I was like, all right, she puts the suit on. I said, there's no way she's going to jump. And I was good with it, though, because I gave her the opportunity. after they had the seat arrangements done or whatever. The whole time she sat there looking straight ahead with her hand on the window and just kind of looked with fear. And I said, all right, they're gonna tell her to get up and move to the door, and she's gonna flat out refuse. She got up, she scooted to the door, and next thing I know, she was gone. I was like, son of a gun, she actually did it. I was incredibly impressed. Incredibly impressed.
This is KD2 and Net Control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners, man. Wow, that's awesome. That's a good experience for her for later in life to, to be able to take up on whatever challenge, even if it scares you. How old are they, by the way?
Let's see, my youngest, well, for sake of argument, she's 21.
Okay.
In about a month
So
she will be. And the oldest is going to be about 25 now. So, yeah, they're both fully grown. The one detail of the story I missed over, the one nice thing they did for me is I started saying about scraping money together and whatnot, and we get up to the window, and my one daughter hands me an extra, I think it was 150 or 125 bucks, whatever it was. She hands it to me and says, here, Dad, get yourself a video. Like, I'm not getting a video. I said, if I was going to get a video, it would be you girls. I'm not getting a video. It's like, no, we want you to have a video. We want you to have video. I said, honey, I can't do that. And they were very insistent. And like, no, you're doing this for us. You get yourself a video. So I was like, fine. So I go up to the window and I tell them who we are. We have reservations. She said, how many jumpers altogether? I said, 3. She goes, do you want a video? I said, yes. She said, how many videos do you want? I look back at my girls. I go, 3. So I ended up buying all 3 of those videos. Then my daughter got mad at me and said, why'd I pay for your video? I said, because I love you.
Oh, nice. Well, that's cool. Well, that's nice to have the memory of that, though, too. I'm sure it's nothing like living the experience, though.
Oh, the memory is exactly like the experience. It's incredible. It was a good time, and I just love the fact that we all did it together, as a family. So it's pretty cool. I was gonna invite their mother too, but I wasn't willing to pay for that parachute.
Gotcha. By the way, when you get that other video of your swarm capture up, hit me up with a link and I'll share it on my channel.
Definitely. I would love to be able to do that all the time. It was, pretty cool making videos and all. We do it with the search dogs here and there.
Hi, Robin.
How
are you tonight?
Man, I just don't know. I know it takes a long time and everything else I got going on. I don't know how often I'll be able to do it, but we'll see what we can do. I actually fired up the computer tonight with the intent of editing the video and putting it together. My biggest downfall is I have the software to do it. I have technology to do it, so to speak. It's kind of older. I really need a new computer. It's kind of slow.
Never does any good anyway,
I
Robin.
don't have the music, so I definitely got to start buying some music files here and there, and
Don't do music.
that way I can tape them into it or paste them in, unless somebody's got
Don't do
a
it.
secret idea of how to get
I'll do
easy free music on a really slow internet connection to download.
Okay, so a couple of tips on that. First of all, if you really like making videos, you should keep making videos. Yeah, it takes a long time, but you got to have lots of videos to start to get recognition and build subscribers and that kind of thing. Anytime you see something that's like inspiring that, hey, that would make a good video, take the camera with you, shoot it. You can always edit it later or decide that, hey, I'm not going to upload this one because it's really not up to snuff. As far as music, there's tons of free music you can use on YouTube. I actually find most videos, I do a lot of technical stuff, so music doesn't really fit my stuff as much. But I find when people put music on, I usually they usually don't balance it against voice well, and you have a hard time hearing what they're saying or hearing what you're trying to hear in the video. So I tend to leave music out, and I actually personally find music annoying depending on what the content is, of course. So there's lots of free music, but as far as editing, yeah, you're going to want a machine that's fairly fast for that, because that takes a tremendous amount of processor power. Oh, thanks, Robin.
Yeah, copy that.
I gotta shave
I'm
again.
Definitely looking at a new machine.
There you go.
I have some PowerPoint presentations I'm working on for both the dog rescue, or excuse me, the canine search and rescue, and for our work. I do, I do a lot of active shooter instruction for law enforcement and civilians. But I'm working on the program there, and just a PowerPoint presentation I'm trying to do to teach these topics. It's I can see my computer's definitely seen its better days. I gotta, every time I create a slide, I gotta like save it, or every so many motions or things I added to a slide, I have to save the file. Yep. Otherwise my system locks up and I gotta start all over. As far as the music is concerned in the videos, I only put the music in. It would be for an intro, which I, quite honestly, I gotta just build an intro, and make a consistent intro, each and every time, every so often changing it here and there, whatnot, with the title and whatnot. But it's, I don't know how many channels you watch, but I watch one channel, Outdoor with the Morgans. They seem to do a really good job, or it's Tractor Time with Tim. And they do a good job in certain portions of the video when they're not really talking, they're just showing the work being done, or the function of the equipment, or during these longer portions of no talking is when they add the music in as a filler, just so there's some noise in the background, so to speak, I guess. That's what I'd be doing too. I wouldn't be overlaying it on the talking, but you're right, it definitely becomes
too much. Yeah.
Almost like static, white static. Right. It drowns out the voice.
Yeah, I knew as a radio person you'd understand that. I mean, like occasionally, like if I'm doing something where, like you say, I'm not talking, sometimes I'll throw a little music in, and I've got a friend who wrote some music, and I tend to use that because it's not under the copyright issue that most of the other music is. So if you're going to do music, find something that, that's free from YouTube that you're allowed to use and you won't be infringing copyright, or you have to get specific permission for that music, for that specific video thing. But yeah, also if you're doing an intro, keep it real short. I know I skip intros for the most part, because I've seen most of the channels I watch, I've seen their intro so many times, it's like it's another minute of time for me to waste if I don't just skip it, so I'll skip it. So I tend to leave intros out of mine. Just my thoughts and feedback from my experience so far. Who knows, my viewers may tell me otherwise. Anyway, if you need advice or anything along those lines as far as like what to get computer-wise, or editing software or any of that kind of stuff, don't be afraid to hit me up. Now that we have contact information, I'm more than happy to help you in that way also.
And KD2 RFI. What software do you use? I use
my Radio Talkers channel name? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Photoshop Elements. Is it the Elements? Yeah, I think it's the Elements. It's not the full-blown suite. It's Adobe Photoshop Elements is what I'm using. Because I used to do a lot of photography too.
Okay.
I keep talking about stuff I'm doing. I'm like, I got a ton of irons in the fire, and I just, it's just incredible. The more I think about it, I gotta really narrow my focus, but I guess I can't. But yeah, I used to do a lot of photography, and Adobe Photoshop works really well. And the latest version I bought was has a video editing software in it too, which I kind of like. It works
KD2
different apps they
RFI.
have on.
Oh, his
the
channel. I'll
phones
ask him.
and all, but
Sorry,
I
Mindy.
can't quite get to it. My fingers are too big. My phone's too old, and you know the deal.
KD2 and Net Control for Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. Speaking of that, we should probably close this out here shortly. I have a question here from one of the YouTube viewers wondering what your YouTube channel is.
My YouTube channel has yet to be decided.
If I can get a word in
I
edgewise.
put a video on. It's
I know
going
what
to
you
be
mean.
the first video I've ever uploaded.
Okay.
So
So he has no
definitely
channel yet.
Stand by Farmer CC Network, and I will definitely let you know when it happens.
All right, very good. Apparently they're anxious to check out your videos, so there you go. You got interest already and you haven't even created a channel.
It's definitely a long time coming. I've done, I could probably put some of my old work up of, slideshows and photo shows and whatnot, and family videos, but I don't know. It's one of those things, I just gotta commit to the time. It takes the time to do it. Right now I got, like I said,
Things going on.
I think mid-June we have a land navigation refresher we got to do for our team, so I'm putting a little something together there. We've all been trained in land navigation, but we're just trying to make sure everyone's up to date on it and utilize it. And this summer I also got a lot of stuff for work. I'm trying to do that PowerPoint presentation for them as well, get that up and running, and get our team tactics up and running. So make sure they're on par with all the latest training techniques and whatnot. And I definitely would love to throw some of that bee stuff in, because it's the time to do it. I'll probably be doing a lot of self videos, because it's usually just me here, so it'll be a whole lot of talking involved, and some homemade tripods, and probably the cell phone rubber banded to it tripod, so to speak, and maybe it's a couple photos thrown in or whatever, but we'll get something together and get it up and running. I guess I got to think of a decent catchy name or something at that point when that happens.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, I have to say I shared your bee, was it black bear apiaries name with a friend of mine, and that was one of his first comments was like, that's an awesome name, by the way. So I don't know, maybe something along those lines will work for you. But yeah, I hear you. I'm still going back through old work, like in the winters when I get a little bit of free time, and scouring up old videos and images and creating new video content for the channel out of that. So I hear you about like digging back into the archives.
Well, I
Thanks,
appreciate
Mimsy.
it. That's Black Bear, great name. I probably should go ahead and do a DBA with the county on that one, and just totally own it. It's actually I came up with that because when I first bought this property, the very first year I was here, I counted a total of 7 black bear.
Wow.
7 different black bears that came through. So it was pretty incredible. And we had the one mama bear and her 3 cubs. I got to watch grow up. Every time they came through, the cubs got a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. I only had one oh shoot moment with her. When I walked out my basement door, the French doors that go right out into the driveway out of the basement. Basement's at the driveway level. House is kind of on the hill. And I had the 2 dogs with me, one on a lead, and my other shepherd, I just let run. The shepherd always ran out and hooked left. And that's
Probably
what
not
she always
Ricky.
does. She always runs right out, hooks left, and goes to the driveway. When I walked out the door, I reached around to grab the door and pull it close behind me, and I noticed a dark object. Just starting to get dark out, kind of just past dusk. And I kind of took a double take and realized,
Good night. Getting started on
Mama Bear
homesteading.
with her
Thanks
cubs.
for watching.
And at that moment, I thought, oh my lord, I just lost my dog. I thought for sure she was going to get into it with the bear, and obviously no dogs winning that match.
Really?
I got to tell you, I think my dog had Red Bull that day. She came flying. I've never seen my dog run that fast. She came flying out of the woods. I'm assuming Mama Bear spun on her and said, I've had enough playtime. And with nothing, not even a scratch. So we really lucked out that day. Ever since then, we give Mama Bear a wide berth. So she's got that match. So it's pretty interesting. That's kind of like how Black Bear Aviaries came up. It was remnants of Mama Bear and all her baby cubs.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Wow, that's that's pretty close proximity. I've never been that close. I've been within probably 75 feet of a bear, and that was close enough. Yeah, that was close enough. Well, let me just close this out quick, and then we can chatter a little bit more if you want post-net. I don't want to keep the repeater locked up in a net mode without any other participants. So this is KD2 and net control for the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net. And this has been a session of the Hudson Valley Farmers and Gardeners Net, sponsored by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club. It is also streamed live on the Pharmacy Seeds Network YouTube channel. Let's see, announcements. If you want to know more about our club, you can visit our website at www.omarkclub.org. That's Whiskey, 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 Oscar, Mike, Alpha, Romeo, Charlie, Charlie, Lima, Uniform, Bravo, Oscar, Romeo, Golf. And let's see, this repeater also has another meeting, net on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. That's usually run by K2JLV, Dave. I encourage you to check that net out as well. That's more of a general chat net. Sometimes there are specific topics. They talk about everything from, oh boy, everything radio related and so much more, shall we say. Sometimes they'll talk about DMR, sometimes they'll talk about HF, antennas, that sort of thing. So if you want to learn more about amateur radio, that's a great place for that. And let's see, the third Thursday of the month we have our meetings at the, what's the address there? It is, I lost it from my log. I don't know. It's the Marbletown Town Hall in Marbletown, New York. Anyway, so third Thursday of the month, we have that. All right, that's all. Thanks to everyone who participated in the net. This is KD2 saying 7-3, inviting you to join us again next week at 9:30 p.m. The net is officially closed. This repeater is back under regular amateur use. All right, business is out of the way. KD2I.
Alright, KD2RFI to KD2IIN.
Not yet, Mimsy.
Let me just throw it out there to anyone. If you have any, don't wait for us to clear the air or any communications you want to partake, go ahead and do it now.
Yeah, getting slow by old age,
Otherwise, I
Pinky.
will continue with you, CJ, for a little bit longer. I didn't realize how late it's getting, but definitely I'm going to give it a moment, see if
Me
anybody
neither.
wants to jump in if
That's
they're waiting for the
frustrating.
repeater. Alright, KD2RFI to KD2IIN. Alright, CJ, sounds like it's clear. So yeah, so pretty much that's how the whole Black Bay thing got started. I think I told you my father did bees years ago, and it was kind of a
time,
childhood
Mimsy.
memory, so I've always wanted to do it and finally had the opportunity, so I took advantage of it. And evidently people who do bees do chickens too, and supposedly people who do horses do dogs too. Luckily I don't have a horse.
Okay, yeah, that does seem to run together. Horses and dogs and chickens and bees. I don't know, it's almost like smaller creatures as a set and larger creatures as a set, maybe. Maybe those mentalities go similar.
I don't know, but if, listen, you ever get get up to the store, you watch everyone walk around in the high boots and the tight pants, and for the horses in the sun, events they go on there quite often. So it's pretty interesting. So yeah, no, so it sounds like your piece is doing really well. You're all geared up, ready to get another hive together. Have you looked in your hive and seen if there's any queen cells? You know, I'm sure as you know, you find a bunch of queen cells, you take one frame out with some bees on it, and a queen cell, and
That's a good call.
maybe another frame with some brood, and another frame with some honey. And you put them in a empty box, and some bees will leave, but the worker bees will stay, the nurse bees, so to speak, to take care of the brood.
Yep,
And,
gotta be
you can
patient.
actually start a new colony in that fashion.
No, I can't say I'm experienced enough to necessarily recognize a queen cell, and I haven't had a chance with all the other things I've been trying to keep up with to get back and look into that deeper. And my friend Matt, I'm hoping can get over here and open up the hives with me one of these days when he gets finished with. He's working on another project right now. It's tying him up for a couple of weeks, but hopefully we can get back and take a dig. I actually haven't been much deeper in the hives than opening the covers really yet, and I haven't been in them, you know, like to inspect anything yet. Just not very experienced and kind of a little. Not gun shy, but just proceeding cautiously. Don't want to interfere with what appear to be strong and happy, healthy colonies. But yeah, that's a great idea, and I'd love to get a couple more supers together. I have bottoms and top covers and supers and frames and all that kind of stuff. If I get a couple more set up, then I could then I'd be ready to do a split if I did find some queen cells. So that's a good thing for you to mention, for me to be thinking about. It's just nice having experienced people around to mention things that kind of get your head in the right direction.
Well, if you're like me, I got a memory like this, a sieve. It just goes right through if I don't write it down. Like as soon as I put it on paper, it doesn't seem to leak out. It's always there in front of me. I go back to my notepad to refer my notes on what I got to do. And they say a bee log is, for all beekeepers, is almost mandatory. So you know when you do go in a hive, what you're seeing and what you got to do with it. I used to keep one on the computer, and it kind of fell by the wayside after the first year. I really should get back into it. After a winter, I go back out to my hive, and like, man, I can't remember which one was the swarm, which one was a split. So there's really no tracking of quality control, I guess, per se, and how long the bees have been there. I just gotta try and do it by memory for the most part. I think where it really comes into play for me is with swarms and splits. So that way I remember exactly which hives not to take honey from. I usually, as a rule, I don't take honey from the bees the first year. I let them build up their stocks and get their wax foundation built up and everything else. So that way it's easier for them to refill next year when all the honeycomb is already built up, and it's just easier to fill. So that's just my take on it. You can ask 50 beekeepers in one question and get 60 different answers.
Oh, so true, so true. But you know what? It's always great to hear everyone's different perspective, even if even if you don't just take that one piece of advice from one person and take action on it. When you start to put all that information together, it gives you a good collective understanding. As far as tracking, I track everything here on the farm. I track plantings, I track fertilization, what was fertilized, how many thousand square feet it was. I track bees, I track ram pump repairs, I track all of that stuff in one combined track log, and I have since 2010, and that has proved to be very useful for going back and looking at, when I was doing something in a season, or when something broke, or how long something lasted, or whatever. So that's excellent advice, but I adopted that immediately right into the track log, so that's good. The thing I have to do is go back and actually assign numbers to the hives or whatever, and add that data back to my track log so I can track each hive individually, specifically. But that'll come in time. Still kind of learning the ropes. But on another note, one of these days, I know we're both insanely busy right now, but one of these days we got to get together and talk in person, because it sounds like we have a lot more in common than just bees and farming and all that kind of stuff. So I think that would be an interesting conversation, but I also think it would be a very long one.
Yeah, copy that. Definitely with
Should go down there, Geeky.
with the track log too. Definitely. One of the things I was started doing is I was assigning a letter to each hive, a letter, a number, and
Thanks, Geeky.
I forget if I was doing the full date or I think just a year when it was started. But like hive in position 1, X means it was from a swarm. Started in the year 2014, so it'd be like 1X14, and that's kind of how I was labeling the hives. So I knew what year it started, what position
That's a
it
good
was
call.
in, because I put all my hives on the same position, and whether it was a swarm or it was a split, it was maybe a package, how the hive got started, so to speak.
Oh no, Geeky. Okay, that's excellent advice, and that I actually track generations of like different seed strains I'm working, and I track them based on whether they've been in high nutrition or not, and for how many generations, and all that kind of stuff. So that fits right in, but that's something I hadn't considered, and that's great advice as far as like a naming convention for hives. That'll help me stay organized for the future.
Alright, sounds good. I definitely got to get rolling in bed. I got to get up 4:30 in the morning. It comes way too early. So, and I still got to walk the dogs yet. But definitely, any bee stuff I can help you with, shoot me an email. And likewise with the garden and stuff. Once I get everything laid out in the garden, I'll definitely be contacting you a lot more, trying to figure out what I'm doing. I definitely don't have a green thumb. First 2 gardens I ever tried produced zip. I water them regularly, not muddy, but it was just different things I found. Mostly I think a lot of it had to do with the soil temp or the drainage. The top of the soil looked dry. The bottom was still pretty wet, and just little things like that. I slowly learned on. I tried a bucket garden one time. Evidently, they don't do well on blacktop or concrete. They get a little warm and tend to cook the roots. So stuff like that. But definitely, I'll definitely be hitting you up as time progresses with this garden. It's kind of crazy.
KD2I. All right, very good. Well, I will let you go, and I'm going to go ahead and close this live stream out in a few more minutes here. We're going to catch up with a few people in there. But good to catch up with you. Good for the information, and I'm always glad to help you with the garden stuff. We'll get you on a good pathway and get you a better understanding of soil, plants, and their interaction. Very good. Well, 4:30 comes real early. It's almost 11 now, so I don't envy your short night of sleep again. Anyway, always a pleasure, Bob, and look forward to talking to you again soon. And don't be afraid to hit me up for information. KD2RFI, KD2I, and I'll say 7.3s for now.
Alright, KD2RFI, KD2IIN. Take care. Good night, 7.3, and all you viewers out there. I'll definitely be looking to get something up and running soon. I think.
There you go, Mimsy.
The amount of stuff that goes on here would be
my radio's
definitely
hot.
video worthy. Maybe not Grammy Award winning, but maybe somebody can learn a thing or two about a thing or two. All right, you take care. 7.3. Good night.
7.3s, Bob. KD2I and is clear. I'll bet they are pricey, Mimsy. I think that's why I didn't get any last time, because I was trying to get all sorts of seed, and I looked at those and I was like, yeah, I can't drop the whatever it was on them. But I'm keeping them moist and waiting to see. Hopefully they'll. He is a heavy talker. Yeah, he's like me. Once he gets going, he's got so many things in his mind. He wants to like get it all out. It's hard to regulate yourself when you're like that. Yeah, but he's full of excellent information, especially regarding bees. He's also a search and rescue guy, and he does a lot of training related to that. Really interesting dude. Looking forward to meeting him in person and actually talking to him in person. We've never met eye to eye. We've only talked over the radio. I met him over the radio. But yeah, I would expect his YouTube channel to be awesome. So hopefully he'll set one up soon. Does anybody in here have any questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, anything about farming, gardening, anything we talked about, bees, anything? Oh, I am that heavy, Mimsy. I've just learned to regulate myself from doing YouTube for so long. I'm finally, like, learning to shut up a little. You should have seen some of my first videos I never uploaded. I talk for 25 minutes and I go back and watch it and be like, nobody's going to want to listen to 25 minutes of me yammering. I got to shave it down a little bit. Calcium foliar spray. What did you use for your calcium foliar spray? I'm so glad you're using foliar sprays. Now we got to get you dialed in. That was on your tomatoes, I think you said? Were they showing signs of blossom end rot? I can imagine, Geeky. Yeah, my dad was a certified flight instructor, so he was always of the school of, you know, I don't get out of the plane unless the plane's falling straight at the ground. Otherwise, I stay in the plane. Milk with H2O. Okay, so you're using milk and hydrogen peroxide. Let's see, what ratio? And this is on tomatoes, right? They had blossom end rot? Is that what they had? No what? I think I might be misunderstanding you. Milk and water. Oh, H2O, not H2O2. My bad. Milk and water. Okay. So the interesting thing about milk, if you look at how much calcium content is in milk, there's not much there at all. So believe it or not, what you're probably doing that's boosting the plants is probably actually the milk fats. So truly healthy plants produce more oils and fats and proteins and lipids, and so they're able to create a waxy sheen on the leaf, and that protects them from blights, fungi, bacteria, that sort of thing. Let me ask you this, from a feedback perspective, have you seen any difference, or how long ago was it you did your feed? 236 GM, 236 grams. Yeah, it's not a lot. And it may or may not be an available form of calcium. If it's not available, the plants won't be able to absorb it and use it. So here's what I would do for calcium. I would go to Advancing Eco-Agriculture, and if you can get the 1 gallon, get a gallon of hollow cal. In fact, I'll pull the link up for you, because that is specifically formulated for absorption by plants. And it'll make a massive difference. Just 1 second. Do you have any other deficiencies that you're aware of, Mimsy? I guess I should ask you. And how are the plants overall health-wise? Are they growing fast? Are they doing good photosynthesis? And accelerate, foliar, hollow cow. Alright, so here's a link for you, Mimsy. If I can get back to the tab that the YouTube stream is in. There we go. Affect mobility of calcium, those interactions in the soil and that sort of thing. spray this season. First time ever to do that, not having any problems. Okay. I would say if those 3 tomatoes on the end are starting to show a little bit of calcium deficiency, you probably have a calcium deficiency in the majority of them, and you're not seeing it all yet. So as you start to fill more fruit, that deficiency is going to become more evident. So I would start, foliar feeding those probably I would say like every 7 days with hollow cow probably. I've tried that before myself. I found that milk was not very effective. You may find otherwise. Here's a question. Did you use a skim milk or a whole milk? Really what I think I would do, Mimsy, if you really want to accelerate that plant health, is I would get a gallon of hollow cow and a gallon of photomag. And I would do photomag and hollow cow together as a foliar feed, because the photomag will accelerate photosynthesis within the plant, and that's the engine that drives that whole cycle. And then the hollow cow will help address that calcium deficiency. You may also have a potassium excess, which by foliar feeding with calcium you can kind of counter that a bit. But that's something you might have to consider also. Loaded with tomatoes. A low-fat milk, okay. Yeah, please do email pics or even shoot some video for your channel. I'd love to see how they're doing and get a visual assessment of them. See what the milk does. It might help. It might help. But my understanding from listening to John Kempf, and someone asked that question in one of his webinars specifically about using milk, and he talked about how the low calcium content in the milk and how it's probably more the lipids and the fats in the milk that are actually doing the majority of the benefit for the plants. That's not to say that calcium doesn't have some effect, but we don't know how much effect it has. What I'm saying is there's better stuff that's much more targeted specifically to address a calcium deficiency. Now, like with my stuff, I use something called C-Stim and something called Accelerate. Not C-Stim, I'm sorry, C-Shield and Accelerate as flower and fruit fill starts. And the C-Shield is high in calcium, and it's also got fats and fish and crab shell in it. It's got a bunch of different stuff in it, but it addresses multiple parts of the puzzle, so to speak. Okay, yeah. Load the new one tonight, and I'll check it out, and I'll see what I can see from here. I know, cheap home remedies. I'm a big fan of, I'm not like a big product person, but at the end of the day, if there's a product that specifically does what it needed to do and it's super efficient, it doesn't make sense for me to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours screwing around trying to make something or make something fit that doesn't work. Of course, I'm not on a big commercial scale, but I'm not on a small garden scale either. So, when I invest time in a crop, it has to come back. And I still have losses. I still make mistakes, but yeah, I think that you'll find that the difference when you use something like one of AEA's products that specifically targets that and is specifically designed for that, you'll notice a tremendous difference, and it'll make the price worthwhile. Let me just look at the hollow cow, because I don't have any of that, and it's one I want to add to my in stock. Yeah, so for $27 you can get a gallon of hollow cow. It'll probably cost you $25 or $30 shipping, maybe less. Probably less, maybe $20 shipping. And so for under $50 you got something that'll address your calcium deficiency for your plants for the rest of the season. And then if you add Photomag, I think that's about $25 or $30 too. For like $75 you're talking about having a way to super accelerate photosynthesis and a way to address deficiencies immediately. A big dog. I'm not a big dog. I'm a little dog. I'm a little puppy in the corner compared to some of these big agricultural farms. But I want to do things right, and I don't want to use chemicals. Live or die by that sword. I think, live. Because I know what the chemicals do. And I know you do too, Mimsy. Anyway, that's my advice. I'll take a look at your video when you upload it. And is which good for other veggies too? The holocal for calcium? Yes. Yeah, it's good for pretty much all crops that would have a calcium deficiency. The Photomag was specifically designed originally for forage crops, but it works. It works for all plants for accelerating photosynthesis, and since photosynthesis is really what drives the entire plant soil engine, that's what you want to be focused on. Let me pull that up quick, and I'll just go over a few of the ingredients in it and kind of relate them to you for what they do, and you'll have a better understanding of why I recommend that particular product. Photomag, here it is. I don't have the bottle in here with me, or I just read it right off the label. But I think it's like magnesium. It's like magnesium, boron, sulfur, phosphorus, something like that. It's basically the key components that drive photosynthesis in the plant, and it's in the right ratio for those. So then once you accelerate photosynthesis, the plant can send down more sugars to the soil and feed the biology better. And when it feeds the biology better, the biology can unlock more nutrition and send it back to the plant. And so the plant is really the way to drive that whole cycle. Let's see if I can find the label. Here we go. Label. Yeah. Alright, and I'll share the label link with you for Photomag while we're at it, just so you can read along if you like. Well, Photomag isn't specifically trace minerals. Like if you want something with, okay, just go to Advancing Eco Agriculture's website and go under products. But I'll try and get a package together for you or something. What was I saying? Oh, right. It's magnesium, okay? Magnesium is chlorophyll and the blood molecule are very similar. They're like four clover leaf shape, right? The only difference is that it's nitrogen in the center and 4 magnesium on the molecule for chlorophyll, and in blood it's iron at the center and 4 oxygen. Okay, so this is magnesium, sulfur, boron, cobalt, and molybdenum, and those 5 things are basically the base minerals that drive photosynthesis in a plant. And so if there's a deficiency in any one of those, it limits photosynthesis across the board on the plant. Okay, my phone, so I can't read along. Okay, well, hopefully you heard and understand that. And yeah, if you have like specific questions or you're looking for a specific product, you can always email me, Mimsy, and I'll be glad to shoot you a link or whatever. Let's see. Yeah, the organic stuff does no harm, but will help as needed. Yeah, basically, yeah. And the biology is basically, so soil is the digestive tract of the plant, just like a cow has a digestive tract. They have 4 stomachs, I think, and so each one of those stomachs has a different set of biology in it: bacteria, fungi, etc. So in a similar way, the soil is a digestive tract of the plant, and basically the biology is the interface between the plant's roots and the soil. And so if you can accelerate the plant's growth and feed the biology more sugars from the plant, more exudates, then the biology accelerates, and when that accelerates, it unlocks more nutrition from the soil and releases it and makes it available for the plant, which accelerates the plant, and so on and so forth. So we can really drive good soil building and soil health and carbon sequestration through accelerating photosynthesis of plants, and that can really help build plant health, soil health, and soil disease suppression, as well as plant disease suppression. And then when we consume those plants, it interacts with our RNA and we can actually drive better health for humans. So that's why the Pharmacy Seeds Network let food be your medicine. But that said, you can't even have a legitimate conversation about using food as medicine if you're using chemicals to suppress insects, because those plants aren't healthy. So you now have people eating sick plants, and now they're sick people. If they're eating healthy plants, they're healthier people. So you need that to translate from one part of the system to the next. And the further up the food chain you go, the more all of that concentrates or gets out of whack. Does that explain it? I hope. But yeah, so like chlorophyll in blood, or chlorophyll is plant blood. That's what it is. And so just like you have to have good blood health, not be a smoker, you have to have good chlorophyll health. So if plants can produce more chlorophyll, then they can produce more photosynthesis and more sugars and feed the biology, and that cycle accelerates itself. Yes, exactly, Mimsy, exactly. But in Hippocrates' time, agriculture was a very different animal. And today, we have a lot of chemical inputs, a lot of, even the fertilizers are chemical. You quit 3 years ago? Good for you, Robin. Good for you. I like smoking, that's the problem. I don't want to quit. I should, but I don't want to. Let's see. And Mimsy, I'm going to shoot you a link to Advancing Eco-Agriculture's products. And just remember Photomag and HoloCal. And then if you want something that's a broad spectrum for your garden, I would go with the Neutralive package. Oh. There it is. AEA stuff. Let's see. Makes perfect sense to me. My current experiment is to try to grow food and use no amendments I don't produce myself. I totally understand that, Gateway Gardens, and I would love to be able to completely close the loop. But with the foliar feeds, I don't have the laboratory equipment to produce things that are chelated correctly and in the right formulation. And so it's better for me to go get a product that works, that just works, because the amount of soil building I can do with those tools used correctly is way more effective and actually way less energy consumptive overall long term than it would be to try and do it myself. But that said, I try to do most of my amendments myself. That's part of why I got chickens, was for the chicken manure. I want to get goats and add them to that. I do a lot of what I try to do as much as I can: cover cropping, incorporation of cover cropping, companion planting, good mulching. I scour all my own mulch from here whenever I can. I actually have a whole program where I let the grass grow up real tall here, and then I mow it, and then I have a thatch rake, and I rake it up with the thatch rake, and that's a mulch supply, or one of my mulch supplies for the season. So I'm very much into closing fertility loops and closing farm loops altogether. But sometimes you just need that little extra tweak, and it can make such a difference that it makes sense to do it. A few chickens and rabbits, maybe a pig or two. But I'm not trying to make a living at it. Yeah, it's hard to make a living at farming. But if you are trying to make a living at farming or market gardening or anything like that, one of the best tools you can have in the toolbox is Advancing Eco-Agriculture's education. Number one, that's even more important than their products. And number two, their products are they're formulated and targeted to do exactly what you need to do. Whether you're addressing a mineral deficiency, or whether you're trying to accelerate photosynthesis, or whether you're trying to increase productivity. all of those. They're really just on point. Yeah, I do need to wrap everything together. I do sell some of my produce. Yeah, there's a couple local restaurants I sell wholesale to them. They love my stuff. They're, you know, they're like, there's a world of difference between your tomatoes and what we get at Sam's Club. Like, well, good. I'm glad to hear it. I'll try to grow more. And I just picked up a tractor this last fall, but that's in the shop. That's been waiting to get parts, and then the parts finally came, and now we're waiting for it to get taken into the shop. And I still got to pay for the parts. So lots of little hang-ups and snares, but I'm going to keep going. Barter with a neighbor for rabbit. Yeah, bartering's excellent. I do a lot of bartering. Rabbit fur, I already need runner ducks for late this summer. That'll be cool. Looking forward to seeing the ducks. Yeah, the country could really use a massive program along their line. Well, they're taking them by storm, Geeky Gardens. Yeah, John Kempf, the founder, is really educational, really knowledgeable agronomic scientist, I would say. The dude's really on point, and he's recommended a number of books that I want to get back and read at some point. I just haven't had the time to even get time or money to get the books, let alone the time to sit down and read them. But I'm sure that'll greatly expand my knowledge base. But yeah, excellent stuff. You should really check out all their webinars. They're right here on YouTube, and they're excellent. You know, oftentimes he's talking to farmers or scientists, and they're talking about larger farming systems, but this stuff can be scaled down small, and it can be scaled up massive. The same concepts apply both directions. Doug and Stacy's. Yeah, you've mentioned that before. Doug and Stacy's. I think I checked their channel out. I don't know. I can't keep track of it all. Wow, we're an hour and 40 minutes in. I got a few more things I got to do here tonight before I can pull my own plug. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Does anyone else have any questions about anything or information they want to know before we close her up? Ducks less than 6 weeks old. Oh, I bet they're cute. And I'll bet you got a secret plan with those ducks to work it into your hashtag Slug Carlton campaign, Mimsy. All right, very good, Geeky Gardens. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for participating. Really appreciate it. Appreciate your viewership, and look forward to talking to you soon. Mimsy, don't be afraid to hit me up with an email if you have questions. I'm more than happy to help. And yeah, no problem. Anytime on the Brain Share. Everybody have an excellent night, excellent week, and on with springtime and summer. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.